Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Justin Foster, and we have partnered together to offer a very unique masterclass, which you will find out more about. I'd like you to get to know Justin, and I've got just a few questions for him in what we call an interview style. So let's jump in, shall we? Justin, at what age did you know that you marched to a different drummer?
Mhm. Hi, Dr. Miluna. Thank you. First era of conscious, first moment of like where you realized your personhood. So probably like three. My mother tells the story of when I was three, I got severe pneumonia and I had to be put in one of those bubbles. And the doctors kept complaining and nurses kept complaining that I kept trying to get out. And I've been, and I've had that kind of restless or spirit since it's just in my DNA. And so yeah, that's probably when I knew I was me. When I met me, that's when I knew.
Wow. You have a love of words and writing, and you've written 4 books so far.
Hmm.
What does your written voice mean to you?
Well, I love the idea of poetry, because poetry is by design, allows someone to take something complex and share it in a way that it's received by the reader at their level of understanding. And so within poetry are parables and stories and certainly lessons and things like that. And so the language is also the bridge between the two sides of the brain. And it's like it sits in the crease also between the material and the mystical. So writing and like my voice as a writer is 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 really to be a mirror that people can see themselves in. If they learn something, great. If they're inspired, great. But mostly I just want them to see themselves. And I teach this to my clients that when you write from a place of vulnerability, that your vulnerability becomes the mirror. And which the opposite of that, by the way, is projection writing or projection communication, and which is actually quite manipulative. And so I would also say, Dr. M, that I don't create any separation between my entrepreneurial pursuits, my spiritual practices, my my passions, my all elements of life. I view especially writing as the great integrator of ideas.
Oh, that is
And
so
I
cool.
thank you. Yeah, and I just there's at the beginning, if you listen to the song "Me and Bobby McGee" by Chris Christopherson, made famous by Janis Joplin, but he wrote it. In the actual cut, he's talking and he says, "Well, if it sounds like country, I guess it's country." And his point to whoever was asking was, that's up to the listener. So a lot of people ask, well, what kind of writer are you? And I'm me. And I'm just integrating what I learn, downloads, insights, pattern recognition, and I'm just sharing it between those various elements of life.
I love it. Everything's connected. The same for me. I don't make a distinction between spirit, business. It's all the same to me. It's all
Yes.
sacred. And I love that you said, I'm going to say poetry is good for us and it's good for our brain. So there
Yes.
we go. Here's to more
Yes.
poetry.
Yes.
Now there is an art to marketing. How did your heretical approach to marketing come to you or begin? When did it start popping out?
Yeah, I thank you. I am one of the rare branding and marketing guys that came out of sales. My first career, first 9 years was in sales. And I remember meeting the marketing guys, either from an agency or on the marketing team at various companies. And I was like, I don't think these people understand capitalism, because they're talking about like brand recognition. I learned out later that brand recognition is the excuse an ad agency uses when the marketing doesn't work. Well, at least you have brand recognition. Well, so does BlackBerry and, you know, AOL. So, and then the heresy came to realizing that marketing really is the science of manipulation as a orthodoxy, and it was created by Freud's nephew, and Freud's nephew took those teachings of Freud related to, you know, the psychology of the human mind, which was breakthrough. It turned out a lot of it was wrong, but it wasn't wrong about fear and uncertainty and doubt and how to manipulate those things. And so Freud's nephew then took his ideas and has put them out into the world. They became sort of, they call him the godfather of propaganda. And most people don't know this, Dr. M, is his ideas were adopted by white supremacists in the United States in the 1920s, then adopted by Nazi Germany, the Nazis in Germany, then Mao Zedong, and then Madison Avenue. And to this day, although the tools have changed, algorithms, click funnels, email marketing, all of the current methods of extraction and trying to attract attention, many of them are still rooted in what I call Bernaysian methodologies. Edward Bernays was Freud's nephew. And so I think that marketing is not an art. I think it's just a discipline. I think it's a discipline that you do. And the heresy of it is just don't do it in a way that's manipulating to other people. So.
Wow. Yes. No, I did not know that. Most of our audience, that's quite revealing, isn't it? Wow. We'll talk a little bit more about manipulation here in a couple of minutes. I've got a question, and that was a beautiful prelude into that. Now, take us back to your childhood. You grew up on a cattle ranch.
Mm-hmm.
I think animals are some of our best teachers. So, Justin, may I ask, what did the cows teach you?
Well, I didn't learn much from cows, honestly, Dr. M. I learned that they're ungrateful, for the amount of effort we took to keep them alive. But I learned a lot from horses, and horses are extraordinarily animals. They have the same nervous system structure as humans, which doesn't make sense necessarily from a evolutionary standpoint, because we don't come from the same species. But our nervous systems are closer to horses than they are to, other mammals, which is why equestrian therapy, for example, works so well. And I learned about partnership from horses. You partner with a horse. And I learned that, horses taught me that your body, your nervous system doesn't lie. Horses are great diviners of people with a manipulative spirit. And so, yeah, horses, they're very mystical creatures to me. And, I don't get to do it very much these days, but I miss just riding them. The Comanche word for horse was one, or union, and they were considered, for many years, the greatest horsemen in the world. So.
Wow, that's fabulous. Thank you. I love that shift. Yes, horses are very mystical. That makes sense to me, the nervous system and all. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What is the biggest challenge going on in marketing right now?
I think it's is that marketing has ruined marketing. And so I'm going to use somewhat of a crude metaphor here, but there's the dog, and then there's the dog poop. and you can no longer discern the difference in marketing. So what most people do is they assume that if it's marketing, they assume that it's dog poop, because marketing is broken as a model for communicating value or teaching somebody, giving people an invitation to try a better, different thing or way. And that was really accelerated during the pandemic when a lot of companies just resorted to automation software and marketed, just cranked out content. And then AI comes along and then you got the algorithm. So the three A's that were the killers of marketing, automation, AI, and algorithms. We really have to think about marketing ourselves as if it was after an apocalypse. So you go back to basic things like conversations. You go back to basic things like telling a story. You go back to basic things like listening. What a novel idea.
What a novel idea.
So I think that is the biggest challenge. And I'll add this as a kind of a final thought to this question, Dr. M, is that marketing used to be a way to show that you were talented, that you had talent and you were worthy of attention. It's not the case anymore. And it's not because it's kind of a paradox, because it's not because you can convince people you're talented when you're not. It's because there's so much more talent now. And I use this example too, when you hear or you take a movie that people are talking about that you've never heard of, and it's like, or a band, you find a band and you look and they got 2 million streams a month. And you're like, how have I not heard of this band or this singer or whatever? There's so much talent out there. And so it's also kind of a secondary challenge, is that talent is a commodity, or expertise is a commodity. If you're a coach, a therapist, a CPA, a body worker, a healer, what you do is no longer marketable as a thing that's different than someone else. Because there's somebody else that can also do it equally or better than you. So it's a very unique challenge on how to market yourself when there's so much talent out there too. And it's quite the paradox. Marketing is ruined, but talent is a commodity.
It is a paradox. Thank you for explaining that. I don't think we've ever had such challenging times around what you and I would call ethical, honorable, true marketing, if we could say that.
Right.
Tagging onto that, let's go a little deeper on that. Every day I'm approached on email with the most ridiculous. I don't even think it's probably marketing. It's just cold sales techniques. Asking things like, do I need a website? I have 3. Did you do your homework? Do I need a book? Did you see that I have a Forbes book? Do your research. So what are there other factors that have led to what I'm going to call unethical, lazy selling like this?
Well, some of it, Dr. Miluna, is just desperation. We live in very uncertain times related to sort of economic stability. And a lot of things we thought were true turned out not to be true, or a lot of things we thought were stable are very unstable. And, humans can have a remarkable state of resilience at sort of Maslow's first level, but most of marketing is related to sort of identity and peace of mind and, aspirations, things like that. That's what most marketing is designed to do. But if a lot of people are just scared. And so the marketer, I don't necessarily fault a solo professional for trying to get a fish in the pan. But I do tell them all the time, how you market is way, way more impacted on your brand than what you market. And if you're annoying people, interrupting people, that reflects poorly on you. And desperation is a terrible cologne. Sincerity is a lost art too. The type of things that you and I receive and most people receive in our inbox aren't from humans, they're bots. And the bots are, they're part of these SaaS platforms that do sort of hyper personalization, and they're not that far off from the Nigerian prince that wants to send you gold. Like they're not that far off. As far as those go, and back to the Bernaysian model, they're just playing on our fears, uncertainties, and doubts.
Wow.
So I do fully blame the industry. It's the most outside of politics, marketing is the most corrupt industry on the planet.
Yes.
If accounting, or if the accounting department or the HR department or the operations department behaved the way marketing did, they'd all go to jail.
That's a good point. That is a fact.
Yeah.
That is a fact. So we have compassion for it, but we're also calling it out.
I have compassion for the solo entrepreneur, the solo professional, because it is hard.
It's so hard. It's never been so hard.
Right. It's never been more difficult. It doesn't excuse doing things that you wouldn't do to yourself. The kind of a variation of the golden rule: don't market to others the way you don't want to be marketed to. And there is no shortcut. I often say this: you're making bourbon, not White Claw. There's a craft to it. It's craftsmanship, not just cranking stuff out and hoping people respond to it.
I'm going to pause on that for a second so we can hear that. Yes, yes, and yes. You now live outside the U.S., and I have such a viewpoint from traveling the world, and I happen to be a dual citizen of the U.S. and Switzerland. So what has living in Mexico City done for your creativity and the way you do business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's kind of a complicated answer, because there's a difference between living in another country and moving to another country. And living in another country can be temporary, and you're the nomad, digital nomad or whatever. That was not our intention here. We moved to Mexico City. And I'm not saying we couldn't move back or split time. And, I do spend a decent amount of time in the States because I have lots of family in Portland, Oregon, and lots of friends and clients in places like Austin, and where I moved from. So there's two parts to it, though, is that most people are not prepared. And I think this is especially true for white people. White Americans are not prepared for the level of disruption to your paradigms, systems, perspectives, to go where things were easy to go to a place where none of those things give you a particular advantage. And then you start to see how intrinsically disruptive it is. But it's interesting you said the question about creativity. I've not been asked that since we've lived here for a year, and nobody's asked me that except for you. And I love that. It's really a great little example of you and the way your mind works. When I'm sort of like in a place where systemically things are stable, when I'm in those moments, Mexico City is magical. It's got an energy and I jokingly say, sometimes I think this is what it would be like to hang out with Matthew McConaughey all day. It's just fun and cool all of the time. And there's always something to do. And the people are, Mexico's, Latinos, Hispanic, people from Latin America are very beautiful, unique in their own way. But Mexico City as a city, the second largest city in the Americas, it's just different. There's nothing like it. And so I just a final thought with this is creativity was a practice in the US for me. It's a practice. It's where I begin to identify as a creative. Creativity here keeps me alive. my soul alive.
Ooh.
It's not optional.
Ooh.
It's not optional here.
Wow, wow, wow. Whew. And we're breathing. That is so gorgeous. Wow, that's powerful. Woo. One last question for this interview.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about F, the formula. Yes, we did say F. 4-letter word, and
Yep.
it's not fear. Tell us what, just an overview, or just give us a little bit of the meat of what this masterclass at the formula is going to cover.
So, yeah, it covers everything that you need to do to walk away from marketing orthodoxies and systems that dilute who you are. It allows you to walk away from all that, to say F the formula, and the F the formula as a name was inspired years ago. It's a term I've used for a long time. It didn't become like an offering until last year, by Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson was part of the machinery in Nashville, and was a famous songwriter more than a singer. He wrote many famous country #1 songs, Patsy Cline, Crazy. He was the first DJ in Texas to play Elvis back in 55 or something like that. But they put him in a box and they sucked the soul out of him. And in the early 70s, he was the first, and there was Waylon Jennings and a few others. They left and went to Austin, and they created outlaw country. And it was F the formula. That was the whole model, which was like, we're not going to do this like anybody else. Yeah. And so F the formula covers, #1 is how to find your voice. Now, I know you do that work as well. This is your brand voice, or the voice of your soul told through your brand. And this is why we partner together so beautifully, because you have not a different term for it necessarily, but a different application. Yes. And if people go check out my interview of you, then you'll talk about that. #2 is we talk about module #2 is that it's called You're Not a Commodity, and is how to develop a school of philosophy, how to differentiate yourself by being a philosophy. Philosophies are the world's oldest brands. There's a reason for that, and I teach that in module 2. Module 3 is you have shit to say. And what that means, it's all around content and thought leadership, and overcoming imposter syndrome, and competing against the AI slop and the acres and acres and acres of bullcrap that's out there. Because the world needs to know your wisdom, regardless of how noisy it is out there. That's just an excuse. Don't use that as an excuse. #4 is to protect your value. It's how to price your services, how to protect your time, how to use boundaries like you do in a relationship. Brands have boundaries too. Personal brands have boundaries too. And the 5th one is simplify to scale, which is what are the tools do you need in order to do things at velocity, and learning what to hold on to that only you can do, and learning how to delegate to others so that you can have more people learn who you are, learn about you and your wisdom and whatever you're doing. And in this particular case with women CEOs, founders, executives, that 5th module is sort of the solution or the toolkit to how do you go make change in the world beyond your org chart. And we need that so much in the world right now. And it's all wrapped around this idea, Dr. M, that your brand and your calling, your identity, your purpose, they're all the same thing. And it's your job to put them out into the world, and it's my job to teach people how to do that. We both love to ask questions and answer them. And so what we decided to do as part of sharing this new cohort with the world is share our mutual love for asking and answering questions. So I loved the questions you asked me, and I would encourage folks to check out that video. You can link to it. You can link to it in the comments, or there's a link to it in the comments. So let's talk about you. So I often just refer to you as Dr. M. I don't know if that's a common thing. I just started doing it. I hope that's okay. So, but
it does happen. Yes, thank you.
yes. So you've had a very interesting path to where you're at now. And so my first question to you is, if someone was going to do a biopic of you and you were going to be like an executive producer, like you're part of the team, what are 3 scenes from your real life that you say have to be in the movie?
What a delicious question. One of them would have to be at a Formula One racetrack. I have a thing for speed, wanted to be a race car driver. I can usually identify, I'm very accurate about this, identifying a car by its engine. I can listen and tell you what the car is. So we're going to need to be at the racetrack for one of them. The second, we're going to need to be at a show, a musical on Broadway.
Okay.
Broadway be okay too. But we're going to
Okay.
need to be in those hallowed halls of music that takes you to another plane, and you feel the whole audience crying, and we're all crying, and then we're all laughing, and you feel the humanity in those moments, and somehow everything's okay. Somehow we're going to be okay as a result of this particular art form, because art is healing, music is medicine. In Chinese, music and medicine, I think, if I'm remembering my research, are almost the same character.
I believe that's true. Yes, I believe that's
Let's hope
true.
my
No, I'm
brain
pretty
is,
sure you're right. Yes.
thank you, is still accurate as I pull up files. Let's see. The third scene. I think we're gonna have to be in Mother Nature, probably at a beach on the West Coast with a bunch of people. And I don't know what that is. It might be a campfire, might be a wine tasting,
Okay.
but we're probably gonna have storytelling and mystical. We might be in a quantum physics class. Something magical and mystical and royal is going on.
Fantastic answers. And what a series of unexpected blendings, Formula One and Broadway and a wine tasting, or a course or a class. That's fantastic. What are people most surprised to learn about you? And context this for those that are watching this. Dr. M is a very visible brand as a person, and very findable, and lots of content. So people generally kind of like meeting your local news person sometimes. They feel like they know you. But what are they most surprised to learn about you when they do get to know you a little bit?
I think I could say a few things about that. Sometimes people think I'm not approachable, which is interesting to me, or that I'm intimidating. And as you know, I'm not at all. But because we're on TV and we're professional and we're skilled and we're trained, and I want it that way, I want a beautiful standard of excellence, it can be unexpected. Because most of us are really nice, warm people who just interview and have learned our camera skills. The race, being a race fan and having a hot car surprises them. I don't know why. I think the assumption is women don't know cars. You don't want to talk about cars with me if you don't know what you're talking about. I also have, I'll just answer with 3. Oh, I'm on a 3-part series, apparently, now that we've started this. I have 3 tattoos. Now, they are discreet, they are hidden more or less. And for some reason, that's a surprise. They were done with sacred tattoo ceremonies. They have deep meaning to me.
Wow. Well, even those answers were unexpected, so that's awesome. So this is a chance to suspend humility, and it's what can you do better than anyone else you know?
Have the vision to see where my client, my friend can really go. It's a combo
Mm-hmm.
of my extremely high EQ. I'm ruled by my emotions, which is not
Mm-hmm.
always pleasant for me, and my intuition. Those are my
Mm-hmm.
superpowers. Seeing the gifts of another person, see where they could go, shine the light on that, and
Mm-hmm.
help them to get closer to who they need to become to live their dreams.
Mm. That's really interesting. So you have been an entrepreneur in some form or another for a while. Um, what have you equipped yourself with to get through the most uncertain or darkest valleys during your entrepreneurial journey? Um, yeah.
Wow, Justin, beautiful. Some days I don't feel well equipped.
Mm,
Uh, it's for me, it's setting boundaries because I'll just give and give and give and give and overwork until I'm absolutely exhausted. And of course, that's not healthy. I had a tumor in my head. I recently had surgery. We're done with the surgeries. I can confidently say that. But I will just work and burn out, give too much, let myself be taken advantage of. It becomes you hold your own, you hold your value. Sometimes you say things that could seem harsh when it's the kindest thing you could say to protect yourself and the other person, to stay in truth, stay in sovereignty. And I'm still learning to value my work. And I'm still disrespected after all these years and all the things I've done and all the education and Dr. Miluna. It's getting to know your worth and being able to hold and sustain and articulate that in turn models that for other women and men
mm, mm-hmm.
to do the
Beautiful.
same.
Great. I have a couple questions about the kind of people you work with, and I want to approach these, Dr. M, with kind of a systemic view, I guess you could say. Is there's been, you can call it progress, certainly with women in leadership positions, and um, there's more women CEOs than ever at any given point. But there's also, and that should be celebrated, but there's also lots of challenge, still lots and lots of challenges. So it's a two-part question here. The first part of the question, and for the sake of this conversation, we'll say a CEO, a woman CEO. Could be a senior executive, but we'll say CEO. What is what are some things that women CEOs do that are self-imposed challenges or obstacles? They are, it's the way they're doing something, the way they're thinking about something that they're creating challenge. They're self-imposed challenges. They're not coming from the system. They're coming from themselves.
We underestimate, no matter how many years and how many degrees and how much experience. It really is. Some folks say there is no imposter syndrome, but I think
Mm,
there is. And I think that's when we underestimate. Sometimes we get quiet. Sometimes we shrink. Sometimes we pull back and want to run away when the very answer would be to lean in and stay there. Stay
mm,
there. Hold that energy. What I'm feeling is when we see a great concert, a singer, a poet, a film, the capacity to hold that moment till the camera stops rolling, the last instrument stops, that is the gift. And that's really what I teach executives, to be able to hold their energy in high stakes on camera, in media, when being challenged. I think
Mm,
that's what even CEOs continue to do,
mm,
not voice at the level of their career path, at the level of their expertise, at the level of their wisdom.
mm. Great. So the other part of that question is women CEOs, you could pick from a list of challenges that are systemic or conditional, societal. What is the one or two of those challenges that you would like to eradicate in your lifetime?
My job is to help women CEOs be heard. So, my part is to coach them, help them be okay being in the spotlight,
Mm,
get over the fear of being seen, the fear of forgetting, the fear of not knowing everything. There's a way to say, I don't know that, and be perfectly wonderful and wise and vulnerable all at the same time. If I can help us be heard more, interrupted less, taken seriously, I will have served my purpose this lifetime.
wow. Simple and powerful.
Thank you.
So let's talk about our partnership a little bit more, the way that other people are going to experience it beyond these videos that we're doing is when we met, we decided it seemed just sort of natural that rather than just be a sponsor of the formula cohort, I felt immediately like, no, I want to like make music with you. I don't want you to help pay for I don't want you to promote the album. I want to make music with you. And so uh, what that turned out to be is what we're calling module M. And it's the first module in this sort of customized formula that we're doing around magnetism. And so let's just break that down and talk a little bit about what that module is. And I'll let you free reign, obviously, how you want to answer it. Then I'll probably have some follow-up questions. But just what is it? Why is it first? Why did you decide to put it? Why did it feel like right for you to create this or adapt this for this particular cohort?
Yes, yes, yes. Let's open the doors a little bit about what the experience will be. Well, you asked me first of all, and it just felt right. Yes, let's start with this. And the reason we're starting with this is because it's your personal voice, which extends into your brand. I consider my voice part of my brand. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I could be introduced with a big, extremely long biography, and then I walk out on stage, and you think, well, she looks pretty comfortable and confident. And then I say, hi, I'm Dr. Miluna. Houston, we have a problem that doesn't match. It's not
Right.
appropriate in my vocal archetype system, which I've developed. It's when you show up and you open your voice, it matches, if that makes sense. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to pull back the secrets of actors and singers and voice professionals, all of which I am and am trained in. We're going to talk anatomy. I know. Because most people don't understand how the voice is actually working, the vocal production. We're going to go into that a bit because, as you know, it's inside. A lot of it we've got to feel, and it vibrates and it resonates, and your speakers are here in your face,
Mm-hmm.
in your bones. It's miraculous that we can even speak in some cases. We're going to talk about habits that cost women credibility and authority. We're going to talk about appropriate pitch and articulating more clearly, speaking about things that you are knowledgeable about. Some public speaking tips say turn up the passion. I say no, talk about something you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
That addresses the situation. If it's a horrible speech written by someone else, you're going to be faking it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's not going to be big, beautiful, delicious, and in your way. So I'm going to speak about your way and ask you to discover your natural superpowers. The more we can highlight, the more I can help you bring out your unique voice. I think
Interesting.
I think that's what I'm coming up with now. It's just a deep dive into what it really means and why sound and our personal expression is number one, healthy for us, and number two, as you said, so very important right now.
Hmm. Right. Yes. Speaking changes history.
Mm.
Writing doesn't. Writing's good. Writing tells you what happened, and it's got a lot. And I'm a writer. I'm also a public speaker. But when I learned that this is what you're teaching, and it was like finding, like a fellow mystic almost in this idea. And so, a couple of follow up questions to this. Do you think that a CEO, any gender, can be an effective CEO without being an effective speaker?
I don't. And I know people will disagree with that and they'll say, well, I'm not going to mention names, but there are a couple of billionaires who have low level communication. So, my question is what if and what would change if they were great communicators? And I'm going
Right.
to stand on my pulpit,
Yes.
puppet and pulpit and puppet, and say their relationship, because we don't know, because they don't care about their
Hmm.
communication. Relationships would improve. Maybe they wouldn't have numerous spouses and girlfriends and boyfriends and children. Okay, don't even get me started on that.
Yep.
Their employees would feel heard and more valued and perhaps less turnover. We don't even know the cost of poor, low level
Hmm.
patriarchal language.
Right.
That's my argument.
Yes. So a follow up to that is beautifully sets up the question I was going to ask you is what is the relationship from your perspective as an expert in this between emotional intelligence and speaking as a skill?
I think it's huge. Uh, some people, in fact, a lot of people don't have high EQ. I don't think they're interested, or probably more accurate, they're scared of it. Because in the US, we're not really told to be so emotional.
Hmm.
Now, some of the native peoples understand this, our sensory abilities, but we're pretty work hard, make money, be individualistic here. We're an
Hmm.
independent little country over here at 250 years old. We're still babies. I I can't always teach people EQ or passion. That's something I really can't teach, but I can open the door to what if. And if you could feel that instead of think that, that's going to change. And you may think you can outsmart it, but how about if you could outheart it?
Hmm.
Ooh.
Mm. So last question for you, and it's kind of, well, last question for now because I got a million, but um, and this question is, I'll just ask it. How will working with you, whether they hire you directly to do coaching or coming to being part of this cohort, how will working with you show up in a leader's day-to-day life? What's the before and after? Before Dr. M and after Dr. M on a day-to-day basis.
It shows up in people say you look different, but you didn't actually change the way you look. Are those new glasses, Justin? It's not actually your glasses, is that you meditated and you practiced this speech in a great way, the speech that
Mm,
you wrote. You'll introduce people better. You will connect more with people. You will feel more confidence and get a handle on that stage fright and fear of public speaking to the best of your ability. You may decide you are better at writing emails. So more writing, maybe less speaking. You might reassign some tasks based on what you have found out. You'll remember people better. For those who are introverts or all about business, you'll be able to have a conversation in the elevator on
Mm,
a what are you doing on the weekend kind of basis. So more
mm,
friendly. You'll be seen as more approachable. People will think you care more because you've practiced more self-care and the leadership development that this takes. Better at leading boardrooms. You'll feel more autonomous, more personally powerful over your life if you really, really, really commit to this. You might seem taller.
yeah.
Men and women who speak well are, the assumption
Hmm.
is we're more educated, we're more confident, and we also make more money. So,
Yeah.
more career success. Some of my clients get promoted, some are given opportunities. There are so many doors that will open as a result of this. It's seeing the possibility, practicing the speaking, practicing being present. That's your gift to the world. And that will
Mm,
shift every relationship, both professional and personal, for you.
beautiful. Beautiful answer. Okay. Thank you so much for the conversation.
It is my pleasure. Thank you, Justin.